This video is brought to you by Established Titles. More about them later in the video. So we got the extension harness made, as you can tell, nice and long. This side was way worse because these are all female pins, so I couldn't pull it through with like pliers. But we figured it out and we got it done. So now we're gonna throw this into the car, and then we're gonna throw the engine harness onto the engine, and then we will cut this to length, splice it to the engine harness, and that should be good. Well guys, the extended engine harness is pretty much done. Pretty long, as you can tell. We extended it like 12 feet. Obviously it still needs to be wrapped with some wiring loom. There's gonna be some more wires added, so we're just gonna put it in as is now, make sure it works before putting the wire loom and stuff on it. So we got the engine harness in, all complete. I got most of the fuel pump wired in. The only thing I need to add is the signal wire to the fuel pump. In order to do that, you gotta put the battery on, turn the key, figure out which wire actually sends that signal. Then we got some gas. And you know what that means. We got the fuel pump wired up.
It's two dudes gassing up, getting gassed up.
Getting gas. Shout out to Daniel. We were about to fill it up with fuel. Then he just randomly decided to check the fuel tank, see if there's anything inside of it. It had a lot of water in it, so yeah, that could have been bad.
A lot of you guys want
So,
There's water in here.
really?
Yeah.
Did you think about that, or you just were like, oh, what's inside?
No, I thought about it. I was
Okay.
like, let me check to see if there's like anything in here. And I seen it and I was like, maybe there's fuel. And I was like, wait a minute. This is a brand new tank, it's not fuel.
Okay.
As Daniel mains my gas tank, let's plug in the fuel pump and test it. Two holes?
I'll do you one better. You got pressure.
Oh no. This is one of my welds, I think.
Okay, I see it. It's your weld. Strip it down. Always clean your material.
That thing welded so much better. It welded totally fine. Goes to show what just not having enough gas does.
You got pressure. Oh, a lot too. Like it's holding too.
We gotta seal the fuel system. It's getting late, man. No leaks from the fittings anymore, so that's good. Regulators regulating it. Keep in mind that this is a solid mount, pretty much a solid mounted tank, and this is a 440 liter per hour fuel pump. All right, we gotta tune it, and then set base timer. Car's got an aftermarket crank pulley on it, and it's really hard to tell if there are marks on it. I can't, doesn't look like there's any marks. So I am putting the stock one I have on real quick. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Whoa! Whoa!
Dude, that was easy. The Eclipse runs. As you heard from 2 nights ago, the Eclipse runs. Now, we couldn't get it to idle for a couple reasons. Number one, the battery's dead and we couldn't keep cranking it, but it didn't want to hold an idle. So now the mission is to get the car idling and running, actually holding an idle. Then it is to button up a bunch of stuff, like the ground cable, like all the wiring, like the map sensor that's just ran through the firewall. And then the third step would be to put a clutch line in, do the shifter cables, and then take it for a drive. So that's the goal. By the end of this video, drive this thing. It's not gonna be a good drive, but like out around the block, that's all I want. The first thing that we've already done is we've done a lot of tuning and figuring out of different sensors and whatnot. I hopped on a phone call with Ding Dong Drift, the guy who made that shift knob. He has a link in his car. He knows links way better than I do, so he helped me figure out the engine coolant temperature, the intake air temperature sensor. We got the fuel system, like the fuel VE table kind of set up and all ready to start self-tuning. So now, at this point, we should hopefully be able to fire it up, and as long as it holds an idle, it'll start self-tuning itself. Yeah, it was really rich, and it said fuel compensation stuck at its minimum value. Now this is kind of where we had our first tuning issue. The car was running way too rich, and no matter what we adjusted, we couldn't get it to lean out, and we couldn't get the ECU to start self-tuning itself. After a bunch of diagnosing, posting on the link help forums, we figured out that we had the injector latency way too high. And injector latency is pretty much how long the injector can stay open. And since we had the minimum for that setting too high, the ECU was holding the injectors open too long and thus putting too much fuel into the motor. But once we figured that out, the car started self-tuning itself, correcting the fuel table, and we got it to idle really smoothly at like 800 RPMs. So it seems like everything's working. It's running, idling great, it's charging great, cooling system is working great, the engine's running nicely. So now we can start to move on to the other stuff and work towards getting the car actually driving. Real quick, I'd like to take a moment to thank this video sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is based on a historic Scottish tradition where landowners are referred to as lairds, lords, or ladies. Established Titles allows you to buy as little of 1 square foot of land in Scotland. Now that comes with a couple of different benefits. For one, you can change your title to Lord or Lady. So on your credit card it says Lord Caleb or Lady Caleb. You could even change your title to Lord or Lady on a dating profile. Get all the ladies with your lordship, you know? Chop chop.
If someone marries you, do you get to do they be called lady since you're a lord?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Well, I think you should know these things.
You also get this unique certificate that proves your lord or ladyship may henceforth and in perpetuity be known by the style and title of lord. And this certificate says the unique plot number of your land, and you can actually look up the exact location of your little plot in Scotland. Established Titles also works with charities around the world to plant a tree with every single order. So really, it's a win-win-win. You get land in Scotland, you can call yourself a Lord or Lady, and you help the planet by planting a tree. Established Titles makes a great last-minute gift. And they even have couple packages, so you can get 2 plots of lands next to each other, and a bunch of other awesome stuff. Now, Established Titles is running a huge sale right now, and you guys can get an additional 10% off by using my code Gingium. So if you're interested, I'll have a link in the description and up there to establishedtitles.com/Gingium. And thank you so much again to Established Titles for sponsoring this video. Guys, I'm sorry. I forgot my crimpers again. But I did this for every single build up to the Delica and it worked, so. Shut the fuck
up. Wait, what just happened? What is that? Big yikes. Oh no.
Caleb, edit that one out. So there we go. I just had to get it a little tighter. We're good. I think I know why the drain bolt was leaking. It was hand tight. We're gonna go ahead and drain the oil, fix the other oil leak. So the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and work on the throttle cable. Obviously, motors in the back. We need a long throttle cable because it's gonna be driven by cable, not by wire. We're gonna use part of the factory throttle cable. The factory throttle setup is weird. It like goes from the pedal into this distribution box, which has the cruise control, and then to the throttle cable. So we're gonna use the part that goes from the pedal to the distribution box. We're gonna use the distribution box, and then we're gonna get a new cable that goes from here to the throttle body. So I'm gonna take some of these out, and then we're gonna mount this somewhere in the trans tunnel. We got our $15 Amazon special throttle cable to work. Now, the one problem is that it's not getting to 100% throttle because the throttle pedal is hitting the floor before. So I'm gonna go ahead, take the throttle pedal out, probably chop it and modify it, or maybe try to just space it out from the firewall. But you can see the throttle cable runs beautifully down the firewall along the fuel line. It looks really good, so. So it turns out It just needed some adjustment. One of the things had a bunch of play in it, so that's good because that means, you know, it's like factory, you know? Right up. So the next step in getting this car driving is to make a clutch line. It's gonna be a steel hard line from the master cylinder to about right like here. And then from here to the slave cylinder, I have this nice soft line, stainless steel soft line that we will use. All right, so the clutch line is done and all made. We're gonna let it gravity bleed for a second while we work on the shifter cables. Now, shifter cables, it's something that a lot of you guys have been asking me about. Since this thing is shifted by cables, not linkages or anything like that, we can actually reuse the stock cables with a little bit of modification. I'm not gonna explain everything that we kind of went through, but regardless of whether the shifter is in front of the transmission or the transmission is in front of the shifter, the difference between what it was from the factory and what it is now, the movement of everything is the same. So we literally just have to hook up the cables in the same way as they were from the factory and then make new mounts for them. Now we've actually been playing with the shifter cables over the course of the past couple of weeks, just whenever we were waiting on parts or doing stuff like that. And so now here we are, present day. We've got the interior mount done for the cables. We've got one of the transmission mounts done. We've got one of the transmission linkages done. And so now we only have one more to make. Now the way this is working is that the stock shifter cable is connecting to this linkage, then this linkage is connecting to the arm on the transmission. We couldn't connect the cables directly to the transmission because in order to do that, they had to be routed too tightly, and then it made the shifter really, really stiff. So we're pretty sure this is gonna work. Just testing with the car not moving, it works. Obviously, we're not gonna really know until we drive it and try to bang through the gears. But I think it's gonna work. You can go ahead and leave your comments about how we did this totally wrong and all that right now, and then I will prove you wrong by the end of this video, hopefully. So, oh no. I might be eating my words by the end of this episode, but we're gonna try to make it work. So, it more or less works. There has to be some adjustment and not everything's bolted together, but I think that's a valuable proof of concept. We're gonna finish it all up and then bleed the clutch, turn it on, and see if we can go through the gears.
So crazy. Oh my god. Okay, it looks great. Good driving. Dude,
It's driving pretty freaking good.
yeah.
I mean, the tune's off, but the suspension feels really smooth over like this not smooth surface. Like, it's riding better than it did when it was stock suspension. I'm gonna get out of here because I'm gonna probably get carbon monoxide poisoning.
That's fine.
So guys, the Eclipse drives. We didn't drive very far, didn't drive very fast, but it drove. Clutch works great. Throttle cable works pretty good. Shifters, the shifter cables, the shifter works fantastic. It felt like it did before we did the swap, and one of those passes I kind of tried to bang it into second and it felt fine. Obviously we're not gonna really know until we're full throttle ripping it, but the Eclipse drives and it drives pretty awesome. Now, as I said, there's lots of stuff to do before we can drive it, like at high speeds on a public road. So that's what we're gonna do in the next video. I mean, that's gonna include windows for the firewall, oil cooler, catch can, brake booster line, all the rear wiring that we still haven't finished, and an exhaust. I don't really know what else to say. I'm super pumped with the way everything has turned out. Everything is working as we planned. Now, we did end up extending the giveaway another 30 days. I know a lot of you guys might be upset by that, especially people who have entered and who are excited to figure out if they've won or not. So I do apologize to all of you guys, but let's be honest, the car's not done. The giveaway is supposed to end in 3 days from when I'm filming this. There's at least a few weeks left of work to do on the car. And like I said, we have to do all the stuff to get it driving, then we still have to get it tuned, then we have to take it all apart. Everything has to come back out to paint everything. I can't possibly finish it in 3 days. And I wanna make sure that whoever wins the car, it's dialed. It's not gonna break on them. It's not gonna be unfinished. And I wanna drive it some myself. And you guys probably wanna see me drive it some myself. So that's why we extended the giveaway yet again. So the new and final giveaway end date is at the end of May, May 30th. If you do want to enter for your chance to win the Eclipse, check out Power JDM in the description down below and in the cards up there. Every $1 you spend on car parts, they've got a bunch of car parts, or merchandise, some awesome Gingium merchandise, we'll give you 1 entry to win the car. A couple things have sold out already, so if you wanna secure your chance to win the car, now's the time to do it. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm so excited to get it driving on the street, which is gonna happen in the next one. So I'll see you then.
I just wanna see what I look like. Oh, it looks normal. Oh wait, this is what it's like to be a vlogger? You have to hold your camera backwards and shit?
That's what I used to do, it sucks.
Really? This is whack. When you have an iPhone, is so much better.
Just say, you almost set them down on the table.